Opera Chat with Matt. People pay money to hear this. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Opera Chat with Matt. Me and my very obnoxious Hawaiian shirt are happy to introduce you to my very first interview with a very good friend and mentor, singer Matthew Rose. Matt Rose is an incredibly accomplished opera singer who's sung at any major opera house that you can think to name. He also has a passion for helping young singers and helping them navigate the career. I hope you enjoy the interview. So we want to thank Matt Rose for coming out, and Matt.
You choose, Matthew.
Matthew. So Matt Rose it is. So Matt Rose is joining us to have a little bit of conversation. He's our first interview, so we're really excited to see how this turns out and get some suggestions about what you guys want to hear from other people that come on and talk to us. So Matt, let's start off with give me your Wikipedia summary. Give me just who you are in a nutshell.
Okay, so I'm obviously British, which is why I speak like
Very
this.
much.
I try and persuade people I am from New Jersey, but they don't quite go well. I was very lucky to get a place at Curtis in 1998, and before that I sort of was doing some kind of singing, but not really massively any great amounts of singing. But then just very luckily happened to meet Michael Elias, and when I was in Italy doing a course, I didn't know what Curtis was, and then 4 weeks later I was talking to Michael Elias, and he suggested I might come and audition. I went and auditioned and had got a place at Curtis, which was a miracle, obviously. And then I had 5 years there, which was absolutely, it sort of made me completely. I was studying with Marlena Malice every week, going to the Met every week. I think, Curtis is a small school. I managed to perform in 22 operas or something during my 5 years there. Plus, I started doing professional work with the Opera Company of Philadelphia, as it was called then. I did about 5 or 6 main stage operas with them, and it was a really wonderful apprenticeship. Really, it was more than an education. I kind of think of singing training as not really being an education, being as an apprenticeship and an induction into the profession. So I sort of had the best possible thing there, Philadelphia, and then obviously coming not from New Jersey, I decided I wanted to come back to the UK, and I auditioned for a few programs, a couple in the States, in New York and in Chicago, and then got a place actually in London at the Young Artist Program there. It was called the VLA Young Artist Program then, for about 6 months. And so I had 2 years as a young artist in London, which was unbelievable, and singing with all my heroes and doing lots of amazing things, and really making great strides actually professionally, and meeting the right people and not pissing the right people off. And then I've been very busy ever since, really. And it's actually, it's a dreadful time in so many ways, this bit. It's actually to just stop and reflect and have some time just to be and think for the first time since I was a teenager is kind of fantastic, actually. So there we go.
Great.
Is that enough?
That's beautiful.
Is that Wikipedia?
That's very Wikipedia. That's like the first 4 paragraphs.
I was very cheap as 15 years ago, and I didn't want to pay for my own website, so I did my own Wikipedia page, which hasn't been updated since then.
Oh, perfect. So everyone go and check out Matt Rose's Wikipedia page.
Yeah. Don't change too much.
That's right. That's right. So you mentioned some of the people that were really influential in your life as an artist. You mentioned Marlena Malice. You mentioned Michael Eliason. Tell me a little bit more about your experiences with them and anybody else that kind of stepped in and took a mentorship role.
Sure. So meeting Michael was, obviously a pivotal moment, and I wasn't really thinking about being a professional singer at all.
Sure.
And then he said, "Why don't you come and audition at Curtis?" And I was like, "Well, these people are amazing. Okay, why not?" So I sort of went and did that, and he suggested that I was to study with Marlena. This is 22 years ago, which is kind of amazing. Just before you were born.
I was 3.
3. There we go. So 22 years ago, when you were 3, so he put me with Marlena, and Marlena really completely built my voice. She gave me absolutely everything that I needed as the sort of fundamentals to become someone that sort of somewhat knows what they're doing when they're singing and when they're in trouble, how to get through things, etc., etc.
Sure.
And Michael, to this day, I spoke to him the other day. He's been such a hero of mine. Is such a. He's been much more than a mentor. He's a very good friend of mine, and he's absolutely someone that I revere so much in the way that he thinks about singing, in the way he thinks about opera, in the way he thinks about young singer training. Just the proof is in the pudding, isn't it? What he did at Curtis for 35 years is kind of remarkable and unique and so important. And he's been amazing to me, and hopefully he will be for very much longer, as Marlena will too.
Absolutely. So, a lot of people in the industry talk about now, when you start your career as a professional performer, you want to sort of build your board of directors, build that group of people that you go to back and forth, throw ideas off of. Who is that for you?
I think the most important person has to be yourself, and you have to really be honest and brave and as knowledgeable as you can be of understanding what your kind of voice and your kind of characteristics, etc., can actually achieve by yourself. So, it's really good to look back and study people who sing similarly to you and sing similar repertoire to you, and see what they did, the route of the journey of their career. What did they start? What roles did they start off with? Etc. At the end of the day, you're the only person that really knows what should happen, and you should be brutally honest with yourself and never think that you should be pushing yourself.
Right.
You and I have had conversations like this about this, haven't we? About even though you can sing Rodolfo's aria, is an opera company going to employ a 27-year-old that's just come from an artist program to sing Rodolfo?
Right.
No. So what repertoire are you going to find for yourself that's going to take you into the industry? It's so important that you know where you stand within an industry. It's not how you stand with your peers that you're on young artist programs with or at school with. It's about where you stand in an industry. How would you fit into that industry, and finding the right repertoire for that. And you have to be the person that knows that. You know what's comfortable for you. You know what you're good at, etc., etc. Yep. Obviously, you need, it's good to have some. I don't think it's good to have too many people involved, but to have a really good coach that you trust and you can go and work on repertoire with, and they can tell someone that really understands a repertoire. I've been very lucky to have people that have been colleagues and were heroes of mine as singers, and have been actually very, very good friends, and people that I can go to and talk to. John Tomlinson, Bryn Terfel, people like this are people that have been so kind of kind and caring to me. Because people have done this. These people have got the experience and the understanding of what it takes to do all these things.
Sure.
Obviously you're going to have an agent as well. That is going to be involved in the process. Agents come from different worlds, and they're not all people that have had training as singers or musicians or anything, so they have a different level of understanding. So when you're trying to find an agent, find someone that's going to do the goods for you. And if you really need every single bit of advice and care, then you have to find someone as an agent that knows the repertoire completely and knows exactly how to help you, where you need to go sing, what repertoire you need to do, which conductors you need to know, which directors you need to know, blah blah blah. Some people don't know that, don't need that so much. Some people have that inside themselves, and they don't need to have someone telling them exactly how they should be doing it. But at the end of the day, as a young singer, you can't know enough. You can't be wise enough. So always, especially at this time when we're all sitting on our asses, just go and just look through websites of agents and see what singers are doing, and people that are sort of just slightly a bit further ahead of you in the game. See what they're doing, see their route through things, and just understand how they do it. I don't want anyone to be like a copy of anyone else, because it's absolutely important that we have really interesting individuals who bring something completely fresh and new to everything that is done. Sure. So, it's there we go. Is that enough?
Yeah,
that's
beautiful. That's beautiful. Absolutely.
Yeah. But but absolutely have somebody with a pair of ears that you trust. So a singing teacher or a coach or someone that you can go to, and they can tell you whether what you're doing is right. Right. Really have someone, because obviously we can't hear ourselves. So
absolutely.
I think that's the most important thing, is to have someone in your team that can do that. For
sure. Absolutely. So you're probably going to repeat yourself a little bit here. But I think if we've learned anything from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is that people really love an origin story.
Sure.
So tell us a little bit about growing up, how music was involved, where music all of a sudden popped in. Was there a person, place, or thing that really sparked it?
Sure. So I grew up in sort of a nice, comfortable middle class family in the south of England. If you've ever been to Glyndebourne ever, it's about 6 miles from Glyndebourne. I grew up by the sea. It's very beautiful there. And my mum she's very artsy, but without really being trained in anything. And she was always into music and stuff. And at school, I was always doing bits of music and playing the cello, playing the piano, singing choirs and stuff.
Sure.
And that sort of, while doing lots of other things, obviously academic work, I was kind of into that until about 13 when I peaked and then gave up. And then I was doing a lot of sport at school. Swimming till I was about 13 was a big thing, every single day, swimming a lot. And then I started playing golf very seriously from about 13 on, and playing cricket, which is an English sport.
Oh, yes, of course.
Things like this. So I sort of, I had a very busy, well-rounded childhood, and music really wasn't, it wasn't like I ever thought for a second that I was going to be a musician. And about the age of 16, we had a new music teacher that came to my school, and somehow we clicked and got on very well, and I was learning the double bass with him. So I was babysitting his kids one night, and he came back a bit drunk and said, Matthew Rose, you should be a singer. Have you thought about being a singer? And I was like, don't be ridiculous. I've never thought about being a singer, blah, blah, blah. So that was the first person that ever said anything towards me becoming a professional singer. At my school, there were these other people there who were doing all this opera stuff all the time, and I was never even thought of to do that stuff. So hey ho. And then so he came and really got me enthused, and that's when I really started listening to classical music. And I remember going to I had the key to the music room. It was brilliant, and I used to listen to The Creation by Haydn, and I remember hearing Beethoven's Ninth Symphony and things like this, Bach's B minor mass. So it wasn't really opera yet; it was still kind of more
classical music, just in general.
Classical, but I'd always loved classical music. I remember as a very small child listening to Dvorak's Ninth Symphony to get me to sleep one summer every night, and had a fascination, not because it was anything more than that.
Right.
So he really started the ball rolling, and then I went to a small college in England, in Canterbury, and I was sort of doing history and a bit of music. There was a singing teacher there called Sheila Luxon, and I started having lessons with her. And her husband is a very famous baritone, Benjamin Luxon, who Britain wrote a lot of music for,
Sure.
and he was part of Britain's group. He sang everywhere. He's one of the great baritones that ever lived, actually. Unfortunately, his early 50s, he started having hearing trouble. Actually, I live in Blackheath in London here, and he was performing here, and halfway through it, he was doing Die Schöne Melodien, and halfway through, he just had to stop because he could not hear the pitch of the piano, which was very strange for him. He'd never had problems before, and then a week later, he was completely deaf. But still, he could still help, and he was still this amazing personality. So he was encouraging me with Sheila to sort of think about singing more, which is why I went to Italy to do this course, which is where I met Michael. I kind of, I felt there were several things in my life I could have done, but I for some reason chose singing to take completely seriously and to do, and I had sort of a lot of confidence that was going to work out somehow. I don't know. Is that terrible?
No, that's awful? That's beautiful. So what were some of the things that you just said that there were other things that you think you could have done? So what were those other things that kind of?
I don't know if I could. I mean, I kind of think if I spent as much time learning how to be a golfer as being a singer, maybe that could have worked out. But in my dreams, maybe that is.
Sure.
I was quite a good golfer, but it was never going to be good enough to be what you need to be on the PGA Tour.
Sure. So we know you're super into golf. What other hobbies do you do? And then, like, especially with being locked in for COVID, have you been exploring any more of your other hobbies, since you can't really golf that much in your apartment?
We have a garden as well, so we can.
So you can
golf balls around the garden. So hobbies. So I love cooking. I love photography, actually, something I like very much. I've actually been thinking recently to maybe start taking that a bit more seriously and have some lessons with someone. Actually, golf course photography, isn't that bizarre?
Yeah.
I've been asked by some people have seen my pictures on Twitter or whatever, and I've been asked by a few people to give some photos for some books, actually, which is quite
awesome.
So I thought maybe I'd take that more seriously now into the future. Who knows? We'll see. So we have a little dachshund, so that's sort of keeping us completely busy at the moment. And you can go out walking a dog for 4 hours a day very happily.
That's right.
And I'm trying to get her to come over. Milu, come here. Come here. Oh, she's now being brought to me.
Oh, good.
We can have Milu. Here she is.
Milu.
Ready? Well, here is Milu.
Hi, Milu.
Hello.
Whoops.
Oops.
Favorite opera house to sing in, or favorite opera house to work with, maybe might be the better question.
I mean, I have to say, because I was a young artist at the Royal Opera House, it really does feel like home, and I sort of know. Well, there's few and few people I know because people leave and go and do other jobs or retire, whatever. But the Royal Opera House does absolutely feel like home, and it's such a well-run and wonderful place and happy place. So that's a very special place for me. Glyndebourne is somewhere obviously very special to me. I grew up, as I say, 6 miles away from Glyndebourne. It's in a very beautiful part of England that I love very much. And again, and they were the first ones to really give me a big break with a big role. We did Midsummer Night's Dream there just as I finished the Young Artist program at the Royal Opera House. So that was like a massive thing for them to have given me, and they've given so many chances to young singers that other people haven't.
Right, absolutely.
Done. You know, I mean, there's a whole hundreds and hundreds of young singers who've been given their first opportunities at Glyndebourne, and I feel so privileged that was the same for me. And hopefully, we're supposed to go back there in July and August to do Rex Progress. So let's hope.
Fantastic. Yeah, we hope that we're still open.
If the world is open by then.
That's right.
Obviously, I mean, as a student at Curtis, I used to come up and have my lessons in New York every week, and I'd always go and see stuff at the Met every week if I could. You know, the back row, wherever. I remember going to see Moses and Aaron by Schoenberg.
Right.
And sitting in the back row of the Met and screaming my head off, and I couldn't speak for a week because I screamed so much. You know, so the Met was very fundamental in me learning what opera was, and so the fact that I got to sing there as much as I've done in the last 10 years is again an utter privilege, and I love that place. And there's so many wonderful people that work there. You know, everyone works so hard there. It's kind of unbelievable how that place works, and the fact they do so much repertoire during the course of the 6-7 months that they're operational. But still, it's just a phenomenal place to be.
Right. Because I mentioned it in the introduction video, I guess I have to ask everyone now: favorite breakfast food?
My favorite breakfast. It's funny, isn't it? In America, I love. So we have this thing here called Weetabix, which you also have somewhat in America, but I only eat that in America. It's very bizarre. I don't quite know why that is, but I love eating it in America. And we have here. I'm very naughty and quite a big boy now, but we have an English breakfast, which is bacon and eggs and baked beans.
Oh, man.
Blah blah blah. That's quite a nice way to start the day.
Of course. Was there ever a big sort of aha moment in your education or in your singing that sort of solidified, that maybe like made your career?
I don't think there was any specific one moment, but it was just a continuation of lots of different things happening absolutely in the right order. And I was lucky I wasn't exposed and pressurized to do anything too young. You know, I never had the pressure of having to do too much stuff too soon, which I'm so grateful for. So I could really learn my craft. How can you learn your craft and become really excellent at what you do if all you're doing is working right. At a time when actually you should just be understanding how to do what you do as well as you can.
Sure, absolutely.
You know, the whole social media thing, I think it's worrisome, and I think people feel like they should be showing off what they are and what they're doing at a time when they should be doing that. Just go and learn your craft. People don't need to be knowing what you're doing every 5 seconds. You know, just go away, hide, and then at some point when you're really fantastic, just come to the world and show the world what you can do. You know, so don't ever think you're a finished article. Always think that things can be better. Always think you could be more interesting. You could learn more text. You can know about the composers better. You can know more repertoire. I mean, I love singing songs. Just learn some songs, sing some songs. Try and find some opportunities to do recitals. Right. What? It's not even a palate cleanse. It's just a brilliant thing to do. You know, and recite. There should be more recitals with more interest in them. You know, recitals shouldn't just be about some singer showing off how they sing. You could put really intelligent, clever programs together and do really good recitals. You know, find some friends and do some recitals together and try and get them put on places. You know,
absolutely.
Always think long term, kids. Okay.
Always think long term.
It's not about now. It's not about Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all this stuff and whatever Snapchats. It's about a much longer thing that people don't need to know about. Just go and become better, and that's absolutely fine. You know?
Sure. So I have covered basically everything that I wanted to ask and talk to you about. Okay. I wondered if there was anything that you wanted to talk about, other aspects of your musical career.
You know, I think that young singer, you know, to be a great professional singer, you have to obviously sing very well and have a very good technical proficiency. That has to go, and that has to be the basic underlying of everything. If you can't do that, then what's the point, you know? So obviously you have to learn how to use your instrument as best as you can. And as easy as you can, and then find the right repertoire to sing that the profession wants you to sing at the right time. So that's the number one thing. Obviously, you have to be able to sing in different languages and be very convincing in different languages. So for me, I think the most important thing is you go and learn these languages. Why not?
Right.
The great singers that ever sang in Italian, French, and German, Russian, whatever, all spoke those languages. Again, and just being as interesting and well-rounded. We don't want cookie cutter people. There's some people that want everyone to come to auditions and look the same and dress the same and be the same.
Right.
We need really interesting people. Just be you. Go to an audition and be you. Don't think I need to be what these people want me to be. Sod that. They want really interesting people. If you turn up and you're interesting and you're fantastic, then they're gonna hire you.
Sure.
And just love it. Just I sound like some kind of like school teacher. You
You must love your music,
but
right?
no. But you have to love it.
Yeah,
The only
absolutely.
way you're going to get through and having this career is really hard. You spend most of your life away from home. You have to love the music, and if you don't love the music, and if your love for the music doesn't come through in what you do as a performer, then maybe go and find something else to do. Maybe just don't be scared. Be know your craft really well, and then just show the world what you can do and make it absolutely fantastic.
And that's the end of the interview. Since this is my first time doing a project like this, naturally, I forgot to make an outro. So instead of thanking him and saying goodbye in person, I get to do it now. A huge thank you to Matt Rose for being my first interview and being my trial by fire. I hope you enjoyed the interview. Please leave comments and suggestions down below. Thanks for watching Opera Chat with Matt. We'll see you next time.